Hello, everyone. So today I want to offer you a free lesson in sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is obviously extremely important to me. I have a whole Patreon dedicated to creating sigils based on the principles of sacred geometry. And it is the backbone of the Tools of Magick that I practice and teach. The other side of it being astrology and the astrological process. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today's lesson is on the Star of Raphael, and I'll get into exactly what that is and what it means, but we'll build up to it slowly, looking up all of its components and seeing what they mean individually, so we can try to grasp what it means as a complex shape. So first up, we have what is sacred geometry, defining what we are getting into, and then the equilateral triangle, looking at the upward triangle as opposed to the downward triangle, the different meanings of those, and then looking at the diamond, a combination of these two upward and downward triangles, then the hexagram, using all of that to understand the Star of Raphael, and then getting into the Anodos, hexagram, sigils, and rituals that I practice and teach, then the thema mundi sigil, which is a great case study, and then the Esoteric Magic Shop on Patreon, if you'd like to hear more about that. So let's get started. So what is sacred geometry? The consensus between the Platonists of ancient Greece, most mathematicians up to present day, and many skilled magicians is that the universe is not made up of matter. It is made of number. Numbers and the geometric relationships they form create shape. The shapes that energies take, including physical matter, rely on number to give them form. Shape bounds each and every entity and defines the scope of its power. This includes ourselves and all the energies of consciousness. By studying the patterns in geometry, we start to discover and master the patterns behind our own life experience. And this is what I mean when I talk about sacred geometry. The universe is at a fundamental level constructed of shape, of mathematical content, of lines and the patterns that they form, and the numbers that determine their magnitude and the relationships to one another. And this goes far beyond physics and chemistry, although those are intensely related to geometry. It goes into the patterns of life experience, the ways that the same things seem to keep happening to us again and again. Why do we keep experiencing these things? Why don't we learn? Why don't things change? What's the deal? And so when we start to recognize the patterns of sacred geometry, we can see how they relate to not just the world of experience in a very fundamental physical sense, but also in a more abstract, poetic sense of the relationships of geometry being echoed by the relationships of phenomena in our lives. And that is sacred geometry. When you start to apply geometry to your own life, when you start to see the shape of your relationships, when you start to see the shape of your activities and your experiences and how they relate to these sacred geometric patterns, you start to have a better grasp and a better understanding of them, and you start to have more power over them and more ability to change them. And that is what is exciting about sacred geometry. Once you understand these mathematical shapes and you recognize how they pertain to your own life, you can transform the patterns in your life the same way that you would use geometry's tools, pen and paper, to transform the shapes on a page. And it seems abstract for now, and it is kind of abstract. This is magic. But the more we get into it, the more it starts to make a certain amount of sense. And the better you understand it, the more effective you will be at using geometric patterns to reshape your own life experience through magic. And we'll start off with the equilateral triangle. The equilateral triangle expresses the concept of balance. It is a simple two-dimensional shape formed by three lines of equal length, and so it always has three perfect 60-degree angles. It corresponds to the number 3 and the Sephirah Binah on the Hermetic Tree of Life. Triangles are the simplest two-dimensional shapes, so they symbolize formation itself. Anything that comes into existence in perfect form, balanced and in harmony with itself, does so through the equilateral triangle. However, its perfection is exact, precise, and uncompromising, just like angels and archangels. And so what we see with the equilateral triangle is the concept of perfect formation, having something come into being exactly as you intended. So it is a marvelous shape for manifestation, for magic. That's why you'll see the alchemical symbols, fire and air are the equilateral triangle upwards, water and earth are the equilateral triangle downwards. Being able to express the idea of a concept that's able to take on form perfectly is very, very useful. And so if there is something that you want to manifest, if there is a form that you want to bring into your life in perfect formation, in harmony with yourself, in harmony with the rest of your life, this is a very useful shape to use. But also, as we see here, all shapes have consequences. And so if you want to bring into your life something that's perfect, it won't be as malleable. It won't be as changeable. It will be precise. It will have demands on you and on the rest of your life to make space for it. It will not change shape to conform to its surroundings. Its surroundings must change shape to conform to it. And this is extremely relevant when working with divine forces, when working with angels and archangels. You want to connect to something holy, you want to connect to something perfect, good luck. The consequence of doing that is that it is perfect, it is holy, which means that when you're welcoming it into its life, it's not going to change to make you comfortable. You are going to have to change to make it comfortable. It is already figured out. It is already exact. It is already perfect. You're the thing that needs to become perfect. You're the thing that needs to change. And so equilateral triangles are fantastic for calling upon divine forces. That's why they are so common in magic. And now the upward triangle. The upward triangle is not a shape unto itself, but a product of perspective. The equilateral triangle contains 3 chevrons, V-shapes, that each point in a different direction. When one of the angles points straight up, it connects to the meanings of the sky, the universe, heaven, perfection, and pure potentiality. It connects to purification, as it returns things to their ideal state. This is the masculine projective form, the phallus, and the abstraction of spirit that leads to the reality of matter. It is the beginning point of all magical operations. So what's important first to realize about the upward triangle is it's not different from the equilateral triangle. It is the same. It has all the same principles. It is simply a matter of perspective. When we look at the equilateral triangle in a certain way, then it points up, and it has all of the meanings of pointing up relative to the viewer, up relative to our own perspective. And so this is where geometry gets interesting, is we're not only looking at the patterns of shapes external to us, but we're looking at the patterns of perception that we bring to those shapes, which is just as relevant. And this is something to realize with magic. It is very often easier to change your perspective than to change the world. They are related, as above, so below. But if you exhaust a lot of energy into creating a bunch of external change, when you could have just as easily invested a tiny bit of energy into creating a little bit of an internal change to get the same result, that's more effective, that's more efficient, that's more useful. So that's the first thing to realize when we're dividing the equilateral triangle into up and down. This is a matter of perspective. Now, the upward triangle is something you'll see with the alchemical symbols of fire and air. It is upward, it is masculine. I'll need to give you a brief talk about the birds and the bees. When men get happy, they form this upright shape, this chevron in their pants. That's the upward triangle, that's masculine. Women, on the other hand, have the downward triangle. They have the V shape. This is relevant to sacred geometry and the attribution of gender polarity to these shapes. Again, not a matter of the subject itself, a matter of perspective, but at the same time, very relevant. And the idea that the masculine polarity is projective, that it is pushing, that is doing that part of the creative process, that is totally relevant to sacred geometry. And then on the other hand, that the feminine shape is receptive, that it is doing that part of the creative process, and that it takes both to bring life together. All of that is perfectly relevant to sacred geometry in terms of the division of perspective into creating a whole perspective. So that's what we're doing with the upward triangle. We're dividing the perspective of the equilateral triangle into 2 sides, upward and downward, masculine and feminine, heaven and hell, up and down. And by doing that, we gain a more comprehensive view of it. relative to ourselves, relative to our own perspective. And in magic, the most relevant and core meaning of the upward triangle is potentiality. So the imagination, the theoretical, the possible, and pointing up to that, pointing up to what is possible, what can we imagine, what is a better world that exists in our minds but not yet below our feet. That is the starting point of magical operations. That's why the upward triangle is so important in magic. And now the downward triangle. The downward triangle is also a product of perspective. When one of the angles of the equilateral triangle points straight down, it connects to the meanings of earth, the subterranean realms, hell, imperfection, and pure actuality. It connects to corruption as it fully manifests a potential and thereby reveals its impurities. Many things are perfect in theory, but practice reveals their truth. This is the feminine, the receptive form, the chalice, and inert matter given life by spirit. It is the end point of all magical operations, the ability of magic to produce results. And so this is also important to realize in terms of sacred geometry, is that it is incredibly neutral. It's not passing judgment. You might think, oh, up is good and down is bad. No, they're both parts of a whole. And so in this, the association with corruption with the downward triangle has nothing to do with it being evil. It has to do with things being different in practice than they are in theory. You know how in theory there are things that sound really, really good, and then you try to practice them and they turn out really, really awful? You're noticing the difference between these polarities. You're noticing the difference between the pure potentiality of the upward triangle and the pure actuality of the downward triangle. This is often full of shit. This is often the truth. And so it is not the case that one is necessarily good or bad. They are both halves of a whole. And the better we can get used to accepting those meanings, working with them, then the better we are able to manifest, the better we are able to accept that sometimes our magic manifesting and coming to pass means us realizing that we did the wrong thing, that we were aiming at the wrong target. And we may need to accept that the flaws in our manifestation have nothing to do with the magic and everything to do with this person right here, the one doing the magic, the magician. That is brutal. That is hard. That is honestly the reason that I teach manifestation. I don't expect it to make people happy. I always expect it to reveal people's faults. And that is the wonderful thing about magic. You can get what you ask for, but you also get lessons. You also get information about who you really are and what you really want and how you really operate in the world and how magic really, really works. And so this is the other side of it, the other part of the coin. If you want to stay in Delulu land, if you want to just pretend to do magic, if you don't want to have anything real, don't focus on this. Just focus on the up. Just focus on the possibility, the potentiality. Don't connect to anything real. If you want to be a real magician, if you want to manifest real change in your life and the lives of others, you have to accept this. You have to incorporate this. And this is the part that most people are missing. They get excited about the possibilities of magic. They get excited about banding about their titles, their grades, their whatevers in terms of magical accomplishments. But none of that matters. None of that counts. What really matters is your ability to create real change in your life and in the lives of others. That means becoming humble. That means accepting that what you do is a reflection of who you are. And that relates to the concept of the downward triangle, being able to connect to the earth, being able to connect to the actuality of our magical practice and what happens, and being able to accept the truth of that over and above, the theory of what is possible. Again, they work together. We have to have an idea of what is possible in order to create change in the first place. It's two halves of a whole, but we have to accept this half. We have to accept the other side of it if we are going to be competent magicians. And the diamond. The upward and downward triangles can be combined in a number of ways that all express the idea of conception, bringing the masculine and the feminine, spirit and matter, potentiality and reality together to manifest creation. One of these is the hexagram of air or diamond, which puts them together, each pointing outward. The diamond expresses the two forces facing away from each other. The potential of spirit is present, but it is not interacting with the reality of matter. In a relationship, this represents introduction, exploring the possibilities with a person before committing to action and change. And so in Golden Dawn magic, this shape is used to invoke the element of air, and makes sense. Air is connected to beginnings and the dawn. This shape is connected to introductions, and having these two forces coexisting, but not facing each other, not fully interacting. And that's very, very useful. And this is an important part of the planning stage for any magic you're doing, is to look at, okay, what's my dream of what is possible? What do I want to create using magic and using my life? What's the reality? What are the challenges I'm facing? And it's great to take some time and do inventory on both of those before actually making changes in your life. All of the preparatory work, all of the research really, really helps. The more carefully consider anything you're going to manifest, the more likely it is to work out positively in your life. At the same time, I like to get people started manifesting right away. For one, it's cool. It's really cool to like want to make something happen and then imagining it happening, and then just stepping into that imagination and realizing, oh shit, I did magic for this. This is exactly what I had in my mind. It's wonderful. And it's exciting. And I want literally everyone to experience that, first of all. But also, as I've said before, magic gives you what you want. It also gives you lessons. And so we're going to be exploring the deeper aspect of it, the theurgical aspect of it, the ability of magic to make ourselves better, to create internal change, and to reshape ourselves and our lives to make more room for these divine forces that are already perfect, which means that they are not going to change shape. We're going to have to change shape. And that is good when you see the shape of your world changing and your life becoming better. A lot of people get scared when they see themselves changing, and they are going to have to change to make accommodation for these divine forces. At the same time, as above, so below, the more that you work with these forces, the more you realize it's two sides of the same coin. If you're really dedicated to creating a change in your world, it's often wise to accept a small change to yourself at the same time. And that will ultimately bring you what you want. And that's the point, is to connect to true will, to connect to what you actually want to be doing with this life, to not be subject to circumstance and what other people think is possible. You can expand beyond that. You can use magic to make it happen. And the diamond is a great place to start with that. And now the hexagram. Another way two triangles can be combined is the hexagram of Earth, or just the hexagram, which merges the two forces as each falls into the other. This represents love, sex, the conception of new life, and all harmonious combinations of man and woman, spirit and matter, potential and reality, theory and practice. In a relationship, this represents union, committing to join forces with another person to conceive of and produce some new identity, which is a product of both persons. The hexagram is the union of humans with divine forces to manifest change in the world through magic. So, if you notice this symbol being connected to magic and being used in magical ritual, that's why. The sacred geometry of it implies a perfect masculine, a perfect feminine, and a perfect combination of the two. That is all you need to manifest a change. So it is a tremendously, tremendously useful piece of sacred geometry for manifesting, for creating change. And as I see here, it is a union of two beings to create something new together. That can be a new person in the case of physical sex and conception. That can be a creative project, you coming together with someone else to build something together. It could be artistic, it could be practical, whatever it is. And it also represents magic, specifically humans coming into contact with divine forces, usually angels, in order to produce some new change, some new part of their life, some new part of themselves, something new that they wish to experience. And this is what is astonishing about high magic. You can choose what you want to experience. And if you are using the language of sacred geometry correctly, then you can call down these divine forces in a well-formed, perfect, harmonious, balanced way, so that you can have manifestations that are perfect, harmonious, balanced, and enjoyable. And there is a whole field of hexagram magic. In my advanced course, The Path of Ascension, we get into the lesser and greater rituals of the hexagram and how we can use them to access the forces of the Tree of Life and the planets and the zodiac. and just so much potential with the hexagram in its various forms. However, for this lesson, we're going to move on to the Star of Raphael. And the Star of Raphael is my own creation. It utilizes the unique relationship between the equilateral triangle, the diamond, and the hexagram. You can create a hexagram using 6 diamonds, which contain 12 triangles. This relationship between the numbers 12 and 6 and 1 gives it unique powers for manifestation through astrological magic. In high magic, the chain of manifestation refers to the entry of spirit down through the 12 signs of the zodiac and the 6 planets around the sun to reach manifestation on Earth. The Star of Raphael is the skeleton for my new system of magic, the Anodos hexagrams. So this is a totally original shape to me. I did not find it anywhere. That's why I named it. And it utilizes everything that we've discussed so far. It utilizes the equilateral triangle, the upward triangle, the downward triangle, the diamond, and the hexagram all together to create a shape that is imbued with the meanings of each of them. So all of the downward triangles are the triangles in the center pointing inward. All of the upward triangles are the triangles on the outside pointing outward. There is a circle around that. The circle has its own lesson. If you take my course on the Tools of Magick, you'll learn more about the circle. But the point is that you can create your own geometry. You are not limited to tradition. You can create what you can conceive, and it will have consequences for the kind of magic you can use it for and the way that magic will manifest. What I love about the Star of Raphael is it creates a more detailed and precise path of manifestation because we're invoking the numbers 12 and 6. And those have specific correspondences in astrological magic and in the chain of manifestation. And so it makes it much, much easier and more precise to access those forces. And this is in general a way to create more effective manifestations. I mean, you can just pray that something will happen, and it might happen. The more precise you can be about what you're calling upon, how you're calling upon it, and the steps it will take to reach the point of physical manifestation, the more effective it will be. At the same time, as we saw with the equilateral triangle, that increased precision, that increased perfectness will cause more change to the world. It will also cause more change to yourself, potentially. So you have to be more precise in what you're choosing to do magic for. You have to be more careful about how you are wielding these powers. And when you're first getting started with magic, looking at a sigil is not going to do much. So your own attention is going to weaken the magic, so you don't have to be so precise. You don't have to worry about it. But the more advanced that you get with this, the more radical this stuff becomes, and the more you need to pay attention, which is, to me, delightful. This is what I love about magic. It makes exploring myself an adventure. It makes figuring out what I really want the most interesting and most beautiful question in the world. And when you have the power to actually make things happen, that's a live question. That's a relevant question. That's a question you want to consider. That's a question you want to get good at answering. Because when you know what you want and you know how to manifest it, you can create a much, much happier life. And the Star of Raphael is a starting point for this new system of magic, the Anodos hexagrams. Let's get into that. The Anodos hexagram sigils and rituals. So as shown on the right, triangles can be further integrated into the Star of Raphael in ways that are both perfectly balanced and entirely precise. This creates a more powerful and effective union between humans and astrological forces like archangels. Using these patterns, it is possible to create a specific sigil for any astrological alignment, powerfully channeling those spiritual forces for any appropriate change you wish to create. The parts of any sigil can then be invoked during ritual magic using the hexagram rituals of the Golden Dawn tradition. This system is called Anodos, which is Greek for ascent, describing the union with heavenly forces in magic. So Plato used the word Anodos to describe spiritual illumination, which is part of the inspiration for this name. And I'm just excited at this new pattern of magic. It evolved from my study with sacred geometry, with astrology, and studying the Golden Dawn tradition, but also studying, how else can you do this? What are the other applications of this? And fortunately, I learned magic from John Michael Greer, and his book, Circles of Power, not only teaches you Golden Dawn magic, but teaches you how to create new Golden Dawn magic using the fundamental principles behind it. And this is what I find lacking in a lot of magical systems. They'll give you a bunch of rules and instructions and things to do because this is the way it's done. But they don't always get into the deep occult philosophy of why it's done this way and what other possibilities emerge once you understand not just the rituals as written, but the principles behind the rituals. And so a lot of Golden Dawn magic is based on sacred geometry, is based on astrology. And so when you understand these things, you can start to create your own. Another good example is Helios Unbound, which is Nick Farrell's book. And so if you want a radical revision of Golden Dawn magic using the principles behind Golden Dawn magic, I would highly recommend checking out that book as well. So that's another application of Golden Dawn magic to create new magic. And so is this, the Anodos hexagrams. We're just using everything we described today. We're using the equilateral triangle. You can look at the triangles and the shape, and it's the Star of Raphael. It's filled up with triangles. Those have precise meanings and correspondences. They talk to specific astrological forces that makes them incredibly powerful for accessing the archangels. You are referencing astrology. You are referencing the equilateral triangle, this perfect divine form, and it gives you a beeline to connect with these forces and to create change. And I've already experienced this with the first group ritual I've done for the Anodos system. Everyone described the impact of the ritual as being very profound, being very intense energy, an upgrade from our previous rituals. So I'm very excited to introduce this. And so let's get into more specifics on this little guy here on the right, the thema mundi sigil. And so an application of the potentials of the Anodos hexagrams can be seen on the right with the thema mundi sigil. This sigil represents the mythical celestial alignment before the creation of the universe, with every planet ruling its signs of the zodiac. It represents the most perfect and harmonious expression of all planetary and zodiacal forces. As with all Anodos hexagram sigils, it can be invoked using ceremonial magic as well. If you'd like to try the Thema Mundi sigil for yourself, it is free on the Esoteric Magic Shop on Patreon. And as I was describing earlier, it's all triangles. It uses the basic makeup of the skeleton of the Star of Raphael. It fills that in with specific astrological alignments. And so it is a sigil that simultaneously invokes the 7 planets and the 12 signs of the zodiac in a way that's perfectly balanced, perfectly harmonious, and corresponds to the thema mundi, where in the thema mundi you have this perfect alignment of the planets before creation, where every planet is ruling its signs. And when you access the planets in that very pure way, you gain a lot of access to their power. And the application that I've introduced for the thema mundi sigil on the Patreon is for harmony. Since this indicates the most harmonious position of the planets possible, more harmonious than could ever occur in regular time. It is wonderful for creating harmony in some area of your life. You can direct the sigil to an area of your life in which you want harmony. You can see it being showered with light. You can see it becoming harmonious through concentration by calling down these divine forces. And the better you get at using the sigil, connecting to it, applying it, the more you can experience the forces behind it and the harmony behind it. And as with a lot of magic, you can create change externally to your world, but you'll also be creating just a little bit of change to yourself. And so being a more harmonious person allows you to live a more harmonious life, makes it much, much easier to create harmony around you. If you are a sad, miserable person and you want to create harmony around you, you're going to have a hard time. And you're not even going to appreciate it if you actually manage to do it. So the ability of Golden Dawn magic to work within and without, as above, so below, is incredibly useful. It is a feature, and it's something that I encourage you to experiment with by going to the Patreon. It's totally free. Just become a free member, sign up, and you can get access to this sigil. And as I've said, I'm using this system of Anodos hexagrams to create sigils for specific astrological alignments. I did one for the sun's ingress into Leo. I'm going to be doing another one soon for the sun's ingress into Virgo. Whatever time of the year you are listening to this, there will be a sigil for that time of the year. And these sigils are live on Patreon. With each of the Archangel of the Month sigils, we use the sun's entry into a new sign to connect to the archangels of the planets, the signs of the zodiac, and the angels of the Shem HaMephrash. By doing so, we combine astrology with sacred geometry and the powers of the archangels to manifest change throughout the month. The changes appropriate to each month are unique to each sign of the zodiac. So if you're manifesting through the month of Leo, things having to do with shining, being a star, being successful, all relevant to Leo. If you're manifesting in the month of Sagittarius, things having to do with hope, faith, getting a gathering, inspiring people, inspiring yourself, those are all relevant. If you're inspiring during the month of Aries, new beginnings, fresh starts, new projects, new meetings, new people, new everything. That's all very relevant to manifest through Aries. And there's the Archangel of Verkiel for Leo, Adnakiel for Sagittarius, and Malkidael for Aries. There's an Archangel for every sign of the zodiac. And so if you like astrology, this is for you. This is a way to get a much, much more intense experience of astrology. You're always subject to astrological forces as the sun transits each sign of the zodiac for the course of the year. This is a way to make that work in your benefit. This is a way to sanctify every month of the year and use it as a period for magical transformation, for manifesting your chosen result, and to connect to the archangels of the zodiac and the planets and the Shem HaMephrash to precisely call down these divine forces and make sure that as the sun is moving through the month, it is working to manifest the change that you want to experience. And we also host a Patreon exclusive hexagram ritual, invoking Anodos hexagrams all around us to powerfully connect our consciousness to a new archangel each month. This is a powerful experience of energy that you should prepare for. And I give you a little diagram and a hexagram for you to practice on your own with once you join the Patreon. Recordings are available to all who subscribe to the audio and video ritual guides tier. So if you want to join the higher tier of the Patreon, then you can watch the recordings of all previous hexagram rituals. You can practice magic along with us. And I've also heard that the video recordings of the magic are incredibly powerful as well. So if you don't get a chance to make it to practice with us in person, that's okay. You can listen to the recordings. You can also get a very powerful experience of energy that way. I've often found it to be the case that the more powerfully you experience magic during the ritual, the more powerfully it will manifest. That being said, if you don't experience anything straight away, don't be too quick to judge the magic. Keep a journal. Keep in mind what is happening. If things are happening in line with your request, in line with the results you want to experience. Oftentimes, we bite off more than we can chew, and we ask for something that would create a ton of change in our lives. And so when we experience a tiny form of the manifestation, progress towards the manifestation, that's often kinder than if it just showed up all at once and created chaos in our lives as a result. So keep track of that. Keep track of how things are starting to manifest as you start to practice with these sigils, and use that as the basis of whether this is working for you or not. I can't guarantee you it'll work for everyone in every situation. I just want you to try it, see if it works for you, and if it does, enjoy it and keep going and enjoy it with me, please. And I love creating and practicing magic, and I've gotten incredible praise from the members who are already using the Anodos hexagram sigils and invoking them with me in ceremonial magic. And it's only $12 per month. It's worth the risk. It's worth $12 to check it out, see if you like it, see what results you get throughout the month. And if you like it, keep going, keep doing it. And so you can follow this link, QR code, to go to patreon.com/the esoteric magic shop. And if you like this video, if you like video lessons, if you think, man, I wish I could learn like all of magic this way, guess what? The Tools of Magick. You can, in fact, learn a path through the Golden Dawn system of magic, starting from the basic pentagram rituals, leading all the way up to knowledge and conversation with the Holy Guardian Angel, as I have experienced it. And this is what I love doing. This is my job. I love creating video courses. I love giving them to people. And I only do this in semesters. I only do this, twice a year, take on new students, new clients, so that I can guide them through every step of the way. And so I can keep track of people. A lot of my job is helping people build discipline. A lot of people are good at watching videos. They're bad at exercising. They're bad at being active in their life in any single way. And that's where I come in. I'm your coach. I will help to coach you through the process of magic, to learn to be effective in your life, and to do these rituals and experience the tremendous changes, to experience the incredible access to energy, the incredible experiences and insights into the spirits of the elements. Learning to talk to spirits is so important. And it's the first thing I always want to teach my clients, because once you can start talking to spirits, you can get good information from them. And then you don't have to ask me anything. You can figure stuff out on your own, or you can ask the angels and they can guide you and they can give you answers. And then you're having an authentic relationship with divinity yourself without me. And that's where I want to get you. I'm not doing this because I want you to be my student forever. I'm doing this because I want you to learn magic, to develop your own authentic relationship with God and the angels, and to be able to experience that on your own as much as you want to, and to create whatever changes you could possibly want to experience. And now the Tools of Magick course overview. Learn Golden Dawn magic with me in just 6 months. Each chapter will consist of 7 to 10 video lessons, just like this one, with an exercise or ritual after each lesson, including full recordings of all temple rituals. So these are big rituals. They take over an hour, and a lot of people are scared of doing them, but they're so important for the higher levels of Golden Dawn magic. And so you can watch me do it. You can set it up in stages. You can take as much time as you need to prepare, and then you can do it, and then you can experience tremendous results. Just recording these rituals again for this course, I experienced life-changing events as a result of every single self-initiation into the elements. And it was impactful and humbling in a lot of ways. And I'm just so overjoyed with the effectiveness of this magic, with the results I've seen from clients. I'm going to be making a video soon showing off all of the results that clients have gotten, all of the experiences that they've had. But to get into this course, chapter 1, we would begin with the Kabbalistic cross, which I will give you as soon as you make the first payment, so that you can start practicing it, learning it. And this is a 1-minute ritual, but we spend an entire month learning it so that you can actually understand how to move energy, how to sense energy, how to open up your energy centers, what you were doing when you were doing magic. These are the basic things that people jump into magic without learning, and then they get confused, or they can't get it to work, or it works in a weird way and they don't know what to do. That's the problem that I'm solving right off the bat by spending a whole month to slowly initiate you into this very simple ritual. This 1-minute ritual will then be the bedrock of the rest of your magical practice. If you can keep up doing daily magic for 1 minute a day, you will experience tremendous changes to your life over time. But you need to build up that basic level of discipline before you can proceed further. Once you have that, we continue with the greater banishing ritual of the pentagram, which will be the introduction to the pentagram ritual. It'll be something we use for all of the temple rituals, and it will also help to prepare you for all of the other pentagram rituals. And once we have that greater pentagram ritual, we will do the consecration of the pentacle and self-initiation into earth in chapter 3, month 3. And then month 4, we have consecrating the sword and self-initiation into air. Month 5, we have consecrating the cup and self-initiation into water. And then month 6, we have consecrating the wand and self-initiation into fire. And each of those, you're going to get to understand the elements in a very visceral way. You're going to get to understand the shape that the element has in your life, the places in your life that it touches. And this will give you a tremendous amount of control over your life once you're fully initiated into the 4 elements. And that's what this course is designed to do, to help you work your way through the elements step by step, easily, using video lessons, watching me perform all of the rituals, giving detailed instructions. I've seen teachers that do demonstrations of rituals, but they don't actually narrate the instructions as they're giving them. That's something that I learned to do over years. And so every time that I'm guiding you through the ritual, I'm telling you, you move like this, you make this shape, you start with this line. And I'm giving you detailed instructions so that you can listen along with me if you need to have me present while you're doing the magic. But eventually, so that you can do it on your own. Eventually, just memorize these rituals so that you can have them on lock, so that you can do them whenever you need to, as much as you need to. And you can experience the tremendous changes in your life that happen as a consequence of doing these rituals. And this is heavy-duty magic. You will be a serious magician once you make it to the end of this course. That's something that I'm very proud of, very excited for, as having a new crop of students every few months to celebrate having learned all this magic. And there's more. So once you complete the 6-month course, you will get a preview lesson of the next course, The Path of Ascension, which teaches Hermetic Kabbalah and the Holy Guardian Angel. So I said before that I want to carve a path for you through the elements. through the spheres of the Tree of Life and up to the Holy Guardian Angel. That's exactly what we're doing. It is an 18-month process. It is not as quick as a 6-month mail-in, but it is also meant to work at your pace. It is meant to work like you work. It is meant to be easy to learn. It is meant to give you all the support you need through me, through my encouragement, through helping you learn every single ritual, learn every step of the way. And the way that I teach magic is I want you to learn the most bite-sized version of a ritual first and repeat it over and over again until it feels totally natural. And then you add the next step, and then you add the next step, and then you add the next step. And when you slowly build up these rituals a little bit at a time, you create a much more enduring structure. It is so much easier to stick with magic when you have every piece of it isolated. When you've mastered every little bit of it, then you can put it together. And if ever it gets to be too much, if ever, life happens and you get distracted from magic, you go back. You go back to the last time where magic felt natural, when you had it on lockdown, when you were doing it every day, whatever magic that was. If it was a 1-minute Kabbalistic cross, that's fine. If it was just like the first part of the Kabbalistic cross, that's fine. I am really emphasizing scaling back the magic to fit yourself in your life and to be steady. If you do magic every day, you can completely transform your life. It doesn't matter how much magic you're doing, because the magic you do every day will increase over time naturally for everyone. The point is to do it every day, to figure out how you can get to the point and to the discipline of doing it every day so that you can create these miraculous changes in your life. That's where I come in. That's what this course is for. And yes, it will end with you directly invoking your Holy Guardian Angel and experiencing the knowledge and conversation for yourself. This is something I've helped both friends and clients to achieve, and I would love to help you. So if that sounds good to you, reach out to me. You can sign up by booking a one-on-one meeting with me first. I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. I want to learn about you. And you can use a QR code, and you can go to calendly.com/MarcusMattern/Tools of Magick course consultation, so that I can consult you about joining this course. And then if that all goes well, you join this course. Signups for the current semester and at the end of August. So sign up right now, right away. And if you're watching this after August and September or later, it will come up again in January. So reach out to me in January, or reach out to me sooner if you want to get started right away with the Kabbalistic Cross and have some time to chew on those lessons before you move on to the rest of the course. So thank you so much for watching. I really want to start working with you. I really want to teach you magic. I really want to share the magic that I love, the way that I love to share it through video lessons like this. So if you like this, like it, share it with other people, and reach out to me to get your consultation.